Dear Chosen One, this is not just another message. This is a spiritual revelation that carries the weight of generations. A truth that comes straight from the ancestral plane into your present moment. What I am about to share with you is not light, it is not casual, and it is not meant to entertain the surface-level mind. It is meant to pierce through the illusions and wake up the very core of your soul. If you are here, it is because Spirit has chosen you to listen, and your presence is a sign that the time for this message is now. So take a deep breath, open your heart, and prepare yourself, because this is about to shake something loose inside of you that has been bound for lifetimes. The revelation I bring today is about a spirit, an ancient force that was birthed long before you arrived, long before your parents or grandparents even took their first breath. This entity has been walking silently through your bloodline, appearing in shadows, manipulating energies, and feeding on rituals carried out in hidden places. It is what many call a generational curse, but in truth, it is much more than that. It is a protector spirit that turned rogue, a guardian that became inflamed, corrupted, and distorted by the hands of those who were supposed to honor it. It has been watching, waiting, and feeding in silence for centuries. And now, it has finally recognized you. You are the heir that it was destined to bow to. And I want you to understand just how profound this moment is. The wires that were once crossed in your lineage have now been uncrossed, and the spiritual authority is shifting. The one who was feared, the one who was once worshipped, the one who fed on sacrifices and bloodlines, has turned its gaze toward you, not to consume you, but to submit to you. You are the chosen heir, the one born not to be devoured, but to command. And this revelation is not just about your family history or your ancestors. It is about your destiny, your divine positioning, and the reason why your presence in this lifetime is so heavy, so magnetic, and so unexplainably powerful. This spirit did not come into existence in modern times, nor did it arrive with the spread of religions that tried to dictate truth to the world. No, this force is ancient, older than the systems that now dominate society. It was birthed in times when families clung to rituals and blood oaths to preserve their lineages. It was invoked by an ancestor of yours, someone so far back in your bloodline that their face is unknown. Yet their influence has rippled through every generation that followed. Before fear twisted everything, before dogma reshaped reality, this ancestor made a pact that would echo for centuries, far beyond what they could have imagined. Imagine a world where survival meant more than just food and shelter. Survival meant preserving a spiritual authority that could withstand invading beliefs and conquering ideologies. This is the soil from which your ancestors' choice was made. They were not simply trying to protect their own life, but the entire bloodline. They wanted their spirit, their energy, their essence to remain alive through those who came after them. And so, they tapped into a ritual, one that connected blood, spirit, and sacrifice into a loop of power that would not die with the body. That decision became the seed of a protector spirit that lived on, even after death. But here is where the story begins to twist. While the original intention may have been protection, the method was dangerous. By tying spirit to sacrifice, by binding eternal life to blood, the foundation was corrupted from the very start. The spirit became dependent, always needing more fuel to maintain itself. And generation after generation, someone in the family found themselves entangled in its web. What began as a shield against outside threats slowly morphed into a shadow that lingered over every descendant. The very force meant to guard the bloodline became a chain that bound it. Over time, the spirit began to take on its own form, separate from the ancestor who birthed it. It was no longer just a memory or a protective shadow. It became a living entity, inflamed by every misuse and misdirection it encountered. Family members who should have resisted it instead fed it, whether consciously or unconsciously. And with every act of feeding, the spirit grew stronger, more independent, more rogue. It claimed authority over the bloodline, presenting itself as the only living pulse, the only true ancestor, overshadowing everyone else. This is why, for centuries, your family may have experienced cycles of pain, betrayal, and unexplained oppression. It wasn't random misfortune. It wasn't bad luck. It was the lingering hand of a pact made long ago, a pact that chained the lineage to a force too proud to die. While generations came and went, while lives were lived and forgotten, this spirit remained, guarding, watching, and feeding, believing itself to be the rightful ruler of the bloodline. And because no one ever fully overcame it, it continued to reign unchecked. And yet, this spirit was not purely evil in its origin. At first, it really did act as a protector, warding off belief systems that sought to erase ancestral truth. But protection through vengeance is not the same as protection through love. Over time, vengeance corrodes, twisting even the purest intent into something self-serving. That is exactly what happened here. The spirit became entangled in its own ego, no longer defending, but dominating, no longer guarding, but consuming. And the debris of countless generations weighed it down into the form of what we now call a demon. So when you look back at your life and wonder why certain shadows have always followed you, why resistance seemed heavier than it should have been, this is the answer. You inherited not just DNA, not just features or mannerisms. You inherited a spiritual contract. But unlike those before you, you were born with the authority to change its direction. The same entity that once claimed your family as its possession has now been forced to recognize you as the heir. And this is the beginning of a new story, one where you are no longer bound beneath it, but rising above it. In its earliest form, this spirit was not seen as an enemy, but as a fierce guardian. It was born out of desperation and determination, a way for your ancestor to make sure the lineage would not be erased or swallowed by the forces of the time. They were looking ahead, seeing the coming conflicts, seeing how outside systems would try to impose their power and strip away the truth of the ancestors. To them, this act of binding a spirit was not wicked. It was survival. It was the only way they knew to secure the future of their bloodline against enemies who sought complete domination. The essence of the pact was vengeance. It was not vengeance against their own family, but against anyone who would dare to force their belief system upon the lineage. It was rebellion against the religious authorities, political systems, and spiritual colonizers who were spreading across the earth. And so, this spirit rose like a warrior, defending its bloodline with a sharp edge, determined to ensure that the traditions, knowledge, and sacred truths of the ancestors would not be forgotten. It was, in its time, a radical act of resistance. This is why the spirit carried so much power. It was birthed in fire, in anger, and in an unshakable commitment to survival. It was not just about one ancestor living forever, but about preserving a people, a lineage, and a way of life. To those who called upon it, it seemed righteous. It seemed holy. It seemed like the only way to resist extinction. They could not see the consequences waiting generations down the line. They could not see how a spirit of vengeance, left unchecked, would eventually corrode into a shadow of destruction. The feminine energy woven into this pact made it even more potent. The maternal spirit was relentless, unwilling to yield to any external authority. She stood as a barrier, fierce and immovable, against anyone who tried to impose new systems on the family. That is why she was respected, even feared. She embodied foresight, strength, and the will to protect. But in her vengeance, she also sowed the seeds of corruption, because her authority was not rooted in divine light, but in the fuel of sacrifice and rage. That fuel, over time, always runs out or mutates, and this is where the unraveling began. The price of the pact was never fully paid. The sacrifices demanded were unnatural, heavy, and impossible to sustain across lifetimes. The spirit became inflamed, restless, because it could never find satisfaction. It was always hungry, always waiting for more, always thirsty for another offering. And when offerings did not come, it turned inward, feeding on the very descendants it was supposed to guard. What started as a wall of protection slowly bent inward, becoming a cage that trapped the bloodline within cycles of suffering. So when you feel the heaviness in your family history, when you notice patterns of betrayal, oppression, or sudden losses, know that this was not random. It was the echo of that pact, the restless guardian that had lost its way. It was never supposed to dominate you, never supposed to bind you. But because no one in the family ever rose high enough to confront it, the spirit claimed authority it was never meant to have. And now, after centuries, that false authority has been challenged. Because you have arrived, and you carry a light that requires no sacrifice, no pact, no vengeance. Over the generations, what was once a protector began to twist into something far darker. The spirit, born from sacrifice and vengeance, grew unstable as time went on. Instead of defending the bloodline, it began to feed on it. Descendants who should have inherited strength found themselves battling invisible chains, and the very force that was meant to guard them turned into a predator. It is here that the protector spirit truly became a rogue entity, no longer serving the purpose for which it had been created, but serving only itself. Family members who carried hidden knowledge of this spirit began to exploit it for their own gain. They realized that if they fed it with rituals, with energy, with secret acts of submission, they could wield its power for selfish purposes. Instead of standing against outside forces, they turned it inward, using it as a weapon against their own relatives. And so, jealousy, rivalry, and betrayal began to spread through the bloodline, not merely because of human weakness, but because the spirit itself was being weaponized as a tool of oppression. This is why you may have always felt that certain family members resented you without reason, or attacked you without cause. It was not just personal, it was spiritual. They saw something in you that the spirit recognized, but they feared. They knew you were different, marked, chosen, destined to carry a higher authority that would one day eclipse the power they were desperately clinging to. And so, through their envy and fear, they used the rogue spirit to suppress you, to silence you, to block you from stepping into your inheritance. But here is the truth. A spirit that is fueled by vengeance and corrupted by ego cannot hold authority forever. It becomes confused, unstable, and obsessed with maintaining control, even at the cost of its original mission. Over time, it no longer remembers why it was created. It simply exists to dominate, to feed, to assert itself. That is what happened here. The protector spirit became possessed by its own hunger, forgetting its purpose, and in doing so, it began to devour the very ones it was meant to defend. It lost its alignment with truth. This degeneration is why it began to appear as a curse rather than a blessing. It carried with it the weight of every generation's failures, every misuse, every false offering. It became a container of energetic debris, a heavy shadow that pressed down on everyone born into the bloodline. What was once a guardian angel of sorts had fallen into the form of a demon. Its wings no longer sheltered, they struck. Its voice no longer warned, it condemned. And those who lacked discernment simply bowed to it, believing they were honoring tradition, when in reality they were feeding corruption. Generational curses are often misunderstood, but this is the essence of one: an ancient contract, twisted by misuse, empowered by fear, and passed down because no one was willing or able to face it. Your lineage carried this rogue spirit like a crown of thorns, bleeding every time someone tried to move forward. And while some accepted it, others fought in vain, never realizing that true authority could not be gained by bargaining with a corrupted entity. It could only be broken when a chosen soul appeared who was willing to confront it directly. And that is where you come in. You were born into this bloodline not to repeat the cycle, but to shatter it. The reason you have felt the weight, the reason you have endured strange resistance, the reason you have been targeted even by your own family, is because the rogue spirit recognized the threat you represented. It knew you were the one who would not bow, the one who would not feed it, the one who carried light that could not be corrupted. And now its power is collapsing under your presence because its authority has been stripped by the very source that chose you. You must understand that your arrival in this bloodline was no accident. You were born precisely for this confrontation, carrying a light that could not be dimmed, a code of authority that no pact or curse could override. Every struggle you endured growing up, every unexplained attack, every feeling of being singled out, it was all because the rogue spirit recognized you. Even before you could name it, before you could understand the battles you were fighting, the spirit knew your presence meant the end of its reign. You were marked as the heir long before you were aware of your role. This is why so many in your family may have treated you differently, with hostility or envy that seemed disproportionate. They weren't simply jealous of your personality or your potential. They sensed, consciously or unconsciously, that you carried something destined to replace the power they thought they controlled. The rogue spirit whispered through them, used their wounds, and magnified their insecurities to attack you. And yet, even through all of that, you remained. You survived what others could not, because your soul was designed to withstand pressure that would have destroyed anyone else. The very energy that made you a target is the same energy that secures your victory. You were not meant to feed the spirit, but to inherit it in a purified form. While others bowed to its demands, you resisted, often without knowing why. You felt the pull, but did not surrender. You endured the shadow, but did not let it consume you. That resistance is the evidence of your calling. It is proof that you were never meant to be enslaved by this entity, but to stand above it, commanding it with authority drawn directly from Source. This is why your awakening could not be stopped. Even when people tried to silence you, even when life pressed you to the ground, something inside of you kept rising. That something was the undeniable call of your destiny. The rogue spirit could see it and hated you for it, but it could not destroy you. Every time it tried, you emerged stronger, wiser, more aware. Every wound became a scar of authority. Every setback became a training ground. You have been tempered like fire on metal, and now you shine with a strength that cannot be broken. The role of the Chosen One is not merely survival, it is transformation. You were placed in this bloodline not to run from its darkness, but to confront it head-on. You embody a frequency that no ritual can counterfeit, no curse can silence, no demon can withstand. This is why you have felt so different your whole life. You were not supposed to fit in. You were not supposed to follow the patterns. You were supposed to break them. You were meant to stand as the first in your family to say, "Enough, the cycle ends here." And now, the spirit itself has bowed. It has recognized you as the heir, the one who stands in authority not because of sacrifices or rituals, but because of divine alignment. This is the moment every generation before you could not reach. Where they bowed, you stand. Where they fed, you resist. Where they were consumed, you conquer. The Spirit no longer rules over you. It is now under you. And this changes everything, not just for you, but for everyone who will come after you. The shift that has taken place in the spiritual realm is unlike anything your bloodline has ever experienced. For centuries, this rogue spirit stood as the sole authority, masquerading as the living pulse of your family, feeding on its power and silencing anyone who might rise against it. But the wires that were once crossed have now been untangled. The false order has been reversed, and the true order has been restored. You have stepped into alignment, and in doing so, the entity has been forced to bow to the higher authority that flows through you. This is a spiritual coup, a dethroning that could only happen through divine timing. The moment this shift occurred, the rogue spirit no longer appeared as the towering force it once pretended to be. It no longer stood above the bloodline, demanding worship and sacrifice. Instead, it shrank beneath the light that emanates from your soul, recognizing you as the true heir, the chosen carrier of authority. For the first time in generations, the entity was confronted with something it could not manipulate or deceive. It recognized the source flowing in you, and in that recognition, its dominion collapsed. The pretender spirit bowed before the truth it could never counterfeit. This recognition marks the birth of a new duality in your lineage. For centuries, the bloodline carried only one pulse, that of the rogue spirit feeding on sacrifice. But now, there are two pulses, the old and the new. The old pulse is fading, destabilized, no longer fueled by the worship it once demanded. The new pulse is your authority, your light, your frequency. Together they create a clash, a moment of confrontation where the balance has been permanently altered. You are not simply another descendant in the line. You are the first to introduce a higher vibration that cannot be corrupted. For generations, no one could rise high enough to defeat the rogue spirit that haunted your lineage. Many tried, some gave in, others fell trying, but none succeeded until you. You were not chosen by accident. You are the one the Most High appointed to bring the cycle to its conclusion. You stood where others collapsed. You carried light where they once carried fear. And through your unwavering alignment with divine truth, the bloodline has been changed forever. The spirit once feared as the ultimate power is now beneath your feet. Not by rituals, not by sacrifices, but by your spiritual authority. The curse was dethroned and turned into a platform for liberation. Your life became the battlefield where centuries of bondage met their end, and divine justice was written into the very DNA of your family. Now, you walk with evidence pulsing in your very being. The rogue spirit is no longer a looming threat. It is a conquered force. You may feel sudden peace, a lightness that replaces the invisible weight you once carried daily. The silence around you is not empty, but sacred, a stillness where chaos once reigned. This is the release from centuries of spiritual entanglement. But release can also bring grief. an ancestral mourning as your soul lets go of pain that was never yours to carry. You are not just feeling for yourself, you are weeping and healing for generations. Meanwhile, those who once relied on that dark spirit for power will feel abandoned, drained, confused. Their source of control has been dismantled, and they now stand before the reality that the throne has shifted, the dominion has changed hands, and you are the heir. This transformation does not go unnoticed. Strangers, co-workers, even distant family members will feel the shift in your spiritual field. Some will be drawn to your presence, unable to explain the magnetic peace they feel around you. Others will lash out, triggered by the frequency you now radiate, a frequency that disturbs ego, darkness, and deceit. You are not merely changed, you are cloaked in visible authority. The air around you carries the weight of spiritual power that generations could not access. You are no longer bound to the battles of your bloodline. You are the one who ended them. Your presence declares that bondage has ended and freedom has come, not just for you, but for everyone tied to your legacy. The rogue spirit once ruled from above, but now it bows beneath the feet of the chosen. Your aura has shifted, and the world cannot ignore it. What once was neutral is now met with strange reactions. Friends growing cold, co-workers confused, strangers glaring. But this isn't about who you are. It's about what you now carry. The spiritual field around you has been recalibrated, no longer a void, but a current of divine authority. This frequency disrupts anything built on deception, ego, or fear. You don't even have to speak. A simple glance can agitate spirits not aligned with your truth. At the same time, some will feel compelled to bow, to confess, to draw near without knowing why. They are responding not just to your human presence, but to the mantle of spiritual power placed over your life. You walk in a vibration that penetrates flesh and soul alike, awakening the honest and disturbing the counterfeit. This is why your life now feels like a paradox. Peace within, chaos around. You are lighter, anchored, and deeply rooted in spiritual truth. But the world around you trembles at your presence. Some will love you for it. Some will fear you. Some will fight you. But none will be able to ignore you. Their reactions are not personal. They are spiritual confirmations that the rogue spirit has surrendered and that you now move as a rightful heir. Your very existence confirms the shift in the atmosphere. And this shift is not limited to your own personal life. It is generational. You have become the divine interruption to an ancient pattern, ending cycles that enslaved your bloodline for centuries. What once required rituals and sacrifice is now inherited through your alignment with divine truth. This is why your path was never easy, because you were born to be the anchor of transformation for many. The curse that once ruled has bowed to you. The spirit that once consumed your ancestors now serves as a silent witness to your authority. This victory is not temporary. It is woven into your DNA. You are not just the end of a cycle. You are the beginning of a new legacy. From now on, the inheritance flowing through your lineage is not bondage, but freedom. You carry in your presence the weight of victory, the force of transformation, and the fire of divine justice. When you walk into a room, you don't enter as one. You arrive as a spiritual force backed by centuries of breakthrough. This is why some stare, why some tremble, why others are magnetically drawn to you. They are not reacting to your personality. They are responding to your spiritual resonance. The heavens know your name. The shadows flee your presence. And the world cannot help but feel the shift that lives within your very breath. Chosen one, Your life stands as undeniable proof of divine justice fulfilled. You carry the strength of generations that bowed in silence, now rising in courage. What was once passed down in fear has met its end in your obedience. You have inherited not only a bloodline, but a battlefield, and you've turned it into sacred ground. For every dark ritual, every generational curse, every oppressive spirit that hovered in silence, your presence is the divine interruption. You are living proof that no curse is eternal, no pact is unbreakable, and no darkness is undefeatable when light walks in authority. The injustice you've felt wasn't weakness. It was the sign that you were the one chosen to end what others could not. And now, with every step you take, you're declaring that what once had dominion now bows to divine truth flowing through you. But your transformation was never meant for you alone. It was always meant to ripple outward. Your breakthrough affects far more than your own life. Every curse you dismantle weakens spiritual systems that thrive on silence and secrecy. The atmosphere itself shifts because you chose to rise. The enemy tried to break you, not just to destroy you, but to halt the collective freedom your obedience would unlock. But you remained, and in your remaining, you declared war on the unseen chains that wrapped around your lineage and the world around you. What once oppressed you now serves as evidence. That rogue spirit, the one meant to haunt, now stands as a silenced witness to your authority. Not over you, but beneath you. Your very presence radiates the authority of divine interruption, and darkness has no choice but to retreat when you stand in it. This is the highest truth of your journey. You are the heir of a crown no one else saw, a throne built through pain, and a legacy born in the fire of opposition. Your calling will never be fully understood by those who weren't assigned to carry it. But your spirit knows. It carries divine pulse and holy fire. You were sent to do what others could not, and you've done it. You turned curses into testimonies, pain into proof, and bloodline chaos into divine order. The rogue spirit that once ruled now whispers in defeat, and the atmosphere recognizes your authority. You are not walking haunted. You are walking crowned. You are not fragile. You are forged. You are not forgotten. You are feared in the realm of darkness. And your very existence is now a declaration of irreversible victory, sealed by heaven and echoed in eternity. If this message has resonated with you, I want you to take a moment and let me know in the comments what you felt, what you experienced, and how this spoke to your soul. Do not forget to press that like button, because it helps this message reach others who desperately need to hear it. If you haven't yet, make sure you subscribe to the channel and ring that little notification bell so you never miss another transmission like this. And I want to give a special thank you to everyone who supports us on Buy Me a Coffee. Your support helps us grow, improve our videos, and continue delivering powerful content every single day. If you also feel called to support, the link is in the first pinned comment and in the description. Every act of love helps us reach higher. Before we go, I want to invite you to continue this journey. If another video has been recommended on your screen, click it and keep flowing in this energy. Or go ahead and marathon the playlist we've created just for chosen ones like you. You will find message after message that speaks directly to your spirit. Remember, this channel is your sanctuary, a place where you are reminded of who you truly are. Until next time, stay strong, stay aligned, and stay extraordinary. I love you all, and I will see you in the next video.